No side conversation.
All right, so yesterday we finished up with the economic theories as forms of government, capitalism being the last one, and we all remember who Adam Smith is now, correct?
Of course.
Yes. All right, so moving a little different direction here, quite a bit different. We're going to look at 5 basic concepts of democracy. Okay, so as we're moving closer to this idea, we're going to form our own government. We're going to go on that journey, kind of starting probably today, from where your essay kind of is going to start taking over here. Not with this, but you'll need to know these 5 basic concepts of democracy. How many?
5.
Okay, good. The first basic concept of democracy is the fundamental worth of the individual. The fundamental worth of the individual. Now, in a democratic system, obviously you're relying on the people. Okay? Now, the United States doesn't have a perfect record on this. Do we? No. Okay. But we're trying, and we've been trying to get closer and closer to fulfilling this idea, where everyone has a fundamental worth. It's basically a situation where you want to make sure that everyone's dignity is upheld. Okay? That they are treated fairly by the law. Okay? Obviously, individuals are going to behave different manners, but as a government, as a society, in a democratic system, holding up everyone's dignity is important. That being said, let me pose a question to you. Do you feel like the welfare of one person's welfare can be subordinated by the interest of the many?
Well, let me pose an answer for you, Mr. Ebright.
Yes.
To put one over many just completely unequalizes democracy. Because if one person is worth as many as the other people, then that makes it worth more than that. There.
Okay, so that being said, I'm kind of thank you, but I'm kind of asking the opposite. Do we subordinate the interests of one person for the many? So, no. You tend to lose your rights when you're a criminal, okay? But if you're not a criminal, okay, and you're a minority, whether it be minority of opinion, your opinion is the minority. And so we're going to subordinate your interests, ignore your interests for the majority. Is that okay? It's okay with you. What about the rest of you?
Yeah, I guess it totally depends on
It totally depends. The fence is really tall or really short.
Okay, how about this?
What's an example?
How about one person's right to free speech? If that one person's free speech offends the majority, do we subordinate that person's right to free speech?
To subordinate mean like
Take it away.
we ignore them.
Ignore it, yeah. Thank you.
Well, I mean, no, because like
This is why we're talking about holding up the dignity of every individual when it comes to rights, basic rights, yes? Okay, let's say everybody in here was a Christian except for one person. And we're in a public school. And we're going to say, you know what? We're going to say the Lord's Prayer that God taught us. It's in the Bible. Oh, you don't listen to the Bible. Oh, you don't subscribe to the Bible. Well, we're going to subordinate your interests. And we're going to say the Lord's Prayer anyways.
Why was that one kid? I'd be like, okay, take a cross line. I'll sit here.
It depends on the degree.
taking away from them. You know what I mean?
Their right not to be exposed to something that they don't believe in? Okay. All right, let me change it. We have 30 people in here. 14 of them are Christian, and 16 are Muslim. And since the majority is Muslim, we're going to pray to Allah and not Jesus. Every day.
Well, the other 14 can choose to opt out of the Allah.
And they could pray on their own. Pretty slim.
Yeah, they can pray on the other side of it.
Whoa. Wait, what about the one Muslim student with the 29 Christian students? Shouldn't that student get a prayer too?
Yeah, he could
Yes,
pray
if
by
they
himself.
want a prayer, they can also. You know what I mean?
Okay, but you're kind of contradicting yourself, because when you said it was speech, when somebody's speech was being taken away, you were opposed to that.
Well, right, like, so each individual person has the right to speak freely, just like each individual person has the right to pray or not pray.
Yes, but the teacher is leading the prayer.
You didn't say that.
Oh, well, it's kind of a... Yeah, public school.
Yeah, exactly.
Grace, but this is hypothetical, okay? Guys, that is the reason why they've taken prayer out of schools. For exactly that reason. Okay? And this is why we still uphold this freedom of speech of people that disagree with the majority. We uphold that. Okay? The dignity of the individual. Okay, now sometimes the majority is going to win out on decisions, and it's going to subordinate the interests of one person. Okay? But when it comes to your fundamental rights, it's important that we protect those that disagree, that are different with the majority when it comes to your rights. And there's a difference. Okay? Because we're gonna pass laws that maybe the majority of people disagree with. Sometimes that happens. Presidents make decisions that the majority of people disagree with. It happens. It's called leadership. Okay? Sometimes you make unpopular decisions that you think are right. Number 2.
Nice one.
Equality of all persons. Equality of all persons. Now, this is equality under the law. Equality under the law. Okay? What about equality of outcome? Now, the 14th Amendment that I've mentioned earlier, okay, says that all citizens have equality under the law. Okay, so the law is colorblind. The law is blind to your religion. The law is blind. Okay? Equality under the law. What about equality of outcome? Should we have a society where everyone, in a democracy, where everyone is equal in outcome? Do you guys understand equal in outcome?
The consequences are the same across the
No, so we're running a race, and everyone finishes at the same place.
We all finish at the same time.
Equality and security.
That sounds like communism.
Everyone gets a C, or everyone gets a B.
How about this? Everyone learns it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So obviously, guys, this can be confusing to some people. When you use the term equality, okay, there's different contexts for this word. Okay? And you have to be careful because this can be dangerous. You know what I mean by dangerous, right? Okay. Now, what about equality? Equality of opportunity. I think it's difficult to pass laws to make everybody's opportunity equal, because everybody's born into a different station in life as far as their situation goes, who their parents are, where they live. Okay, is going to be determine a lot for you. But as a society, we want to provide equality of opportunity as much as we can. And the best way we do that in this country, of course, is what? Free education, K through 12. Free schooling. Okay? And to make that opportunity even more equal, okay, it's up to society to try and provide good schooling for every student. Okay? And we struggle with this in America. Okay? Because we know some schools are better than other schools. And so when we talk about things like school vouchers and school choice and so forth, this is where a lot of people take this argument, is that we need to provide better opportunities for students to learn. More choice, more freedom in doing so. So, that's a process, okay? Now, this equality under the law is referred to as due process. So, like, when you get arrested, everybody has the same process that you go through, that you are due, certain rights that you have, okay? All right. 5 basic concepts of democracy. Number 3. Majority rules and minority rights. Majority rules and minority rights.
Like R or W?
R-I-G-H-T.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, is the majority always right?
No.
Absolutely not.
It may not always be right, but it is always the decision that's most pleasing to the most people. I know. But it's what makes the most people happy. All right? Now, when it comes to the minority, we have to have rights that protect the minority. And one of the major reasons why you have to have rights to protect the minority is that today's minority may not always be the minority. They may become the majority. Today's majority may at one point become the minority. You got that, white people? Okay? Listen, demographically, we're a very diverse nation, right? But through immigration and birth, whites will no longer be the minority in this country, or excuse me, the majority. I don't know what year they're saying now, but somewhere around 2050. So, now whites figured this out. I mean, we had a civil war and so forth, and we had a civil rights movement and so forth, right? And it's taken us a while to get this right. But now we have the 14th Amendment, and it's actually enforced for the most part. So it's important that, understand the conflict that has come from minorities in this country not having rights. And if you look at other parts of the world where minorities are mistreated, I mean, take Christians, for instance. in the Middle East, okay, or even in India. There's been some pretty big protests. I don't know if you guys heard about this situation in India, where I don't know if it was a priest or a pastor was murdered, and the government called it a suicide. Okay, and they've been having some pretty big protests by Christians in India over this. Protecting the rights of minorities. In this country, when it comes to religion, okay, protecting those rights. Catholics in this country, especially at the beginning of this country, obviously mistreated. We're not allowed to worship, build churches, cathedrals that they wanted to build. They were not given their full rights, Catholics. Okay? It's important that we allow that. Okay? So if you have more Muslims here and they're going to want to build a mosque, you can't just say no. Okay? We have freedom of religion in this country. Freedom, okay? Free exercise of religion. The fourth basic concept of democracy, the necessity of compromise. The necessity of compromise. Oh boy. I don't know. Anybody paying attention to the news the last 24 hours?
Of course not.
On the immigration discussion?
Yeah.
Anybody hear what President Trump floated out there for kind of a compromise with the Democrats? Well, let's just put it this way.
Make a fast track for people to be immigrated.
It looks like 1.8 million.
Yeah.
So not just DACA, 800,000, but a million more. Okay? And as far as the wall funding goes, I think he's putting in, but it's a delayed situation. A lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans unhappy with the president floating this out there. If you're going to negotiate a deal, okay, wouldn't you start lower? The Republicans in the House have a bill that I'd say most conservatives may not love, but would accept. But President Trump, what he just floated, was far beyond what he's been saying since he started running for president. So I don't know if he is playing some kind of game, because, you know, he's this great, the art of the deal guy.
Yes, that was
Okay? The art of the deal. So we'll see where this goes. There is something to be said, those of you that follow politics a little bit, is to get your base, which base is his conservatives are his base, and, you know, people that don't like the establishment, is to get your base angry at you. Reagan did this some. Okay? Because then Trump can go to the Democrats and say, look, I'm trying to compromise here. Look what my base is very angry with me, and look at how far I'm coming towards you. It's a negotiating tactic. Okay? So, we'll kind of see where this goes. But the question here, or the topic, is the necessity of compromise. So the Democrats know the Republicans are the majority in both houses, right? So if you're arguing from the minority position in politics for compromise, you know the majority is going to win. So you try and get what you can from the majority. Okay? Now, there's usually multiple solutions to a problem. But are there some issues that are uncompromisable? I will not compromise on this. Like what? Okay, some would say abortion. Well, let me throw this at you. Let's say President Trump says to the Democrats that generally are pro-choice, right? Okay, says the Democrats. All right, I want to do away with late-term abortions in this country, period. Okay? So I will give you a 10-year path for DACA folks, a 10-year path to citizenship if you give me no late-term abortions. Now, that doesn't do away with abortion. It's a baby step. No pun intended. Would you take it?
I would take it as long as he didn't just give up there. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Like there has to be a follow-up.
Sure. Okay, yeah. But you take what you can get, right? Compromise. Okay, work that. All right? And so when we say uncompromisable issues, slavery, the Bill of Rights. Okay? Those are uncompromisable. All right? Second Amendment. Okay? People are like, no new gun laws. But if you said to the Democrats, we'll outlaw bump stocks, okay, if you do away with late-term abortions. Okay? So there are compromises available, but some issues maybe not so much. All right, number 5. 5 basic concepts of democracy. Individual freedom. Individual freedom. Absolute freedom equals
Tyranny.
anarchy. So we have to have some limits, yes, on our freedom. Okay, that would be a complete state of nature. Living in a complete state of nature with absolute freedom. It would be nasty, brutish, and short. Okay. So, when do we know when to put limits on our freedom? Well, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said this. He said, "The right to swing my fist ends where your nose begins." So I can swing my fist all I want, but I just can't hit your nose with it. Okay? JFK said this: "The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened." That goes back kind of to that first one when we talk about, can the welfare of one be subordinated by the many? Yes, except when it comes to your individual rights. Okay? And the Supreme Court is hearing this right now in that case from Colorado, with the baker said that he would not bake a wedding cake for a gay wedding. Okay? We're getting to the heart of this question as, do your religious freedoms under the First Amendment, okay, can those be subordinated for the interests of a gay couple? Okay? It's going to be really interesting to see how the Supreme Court rules on this. This is a game changer, guys. Okay? And that's why it's so important when we talk about these things who controls the Supreme Court? Who are those 9 members? And as you learn in this class, who gets to appoint those justices? The president. And who has to approve them? The Senate. Okay? So this is why elections are important. Okay, I got into a Facebook argument the other day, okay, about this, you know. Okay, so is Donald Trump pro-life? Well, to me, his appointment of Neil Gorsuch, okay, is as important or more important than who's in the United States House of Representatives. Now, who wins those seats in the United States Senate is almost as important for that issue as who is president. Okay? Because the Senate can say no to Supreme Court justices that are appointed. Okay? So this is really getting to the heart of the Bill of Rights, and the Supreme Court's hearing that case, and it's probably the most important case on the docket this term for the Supreme Court. Okay? So 5 basic concepts of democracy, just ideas that are important that we as a society have to recognize and uphold to an extent. Okay? And you can agree with some of those, you can disagree. There are different levels of compromise, there are different levels of the individual dignity. There are not different levels of rights. You either have them or you do not. Okay? And so as we move forward, we're going to look at, kind of where these rights come from. You can find them in documents. You can find them in constitutions. But where do they come from? And this is a fundamental argument in this country. The founders of this country said that these rights come from God, that they're natural, that they're inalienable, okay, from our Creator. There are others in this country that feel that they come from documents that are contrived by man. And if man creates them, can you take them away? Man can take them away. If God gives them to you, then you can't take them away. There's a fundamental difference here. Okay? And I'm hoping that the fact that I can't say that at Northwest High School, if I'm teaching an honors government class, that God gives you these rights. That the vast majority of public school students that are graduating from high school in this country do not know the truth that these rights come from God. Then it's up to you. No pressure. No pressure. It's up to you to make sure that other people know that and that they're upheld. Okay? All right? Now, all right, so this is where we're changing course, guys. All right, so maybe draw a line and write essay.
Wait, when is this due?
Due. The test will most likely be not the end of next week, but the end of the following week. It'll probably be Thursday and Friday of
2 days?
week next. 2-day test.
So what is that like?
Yeah, I'm not good with the calendar in the head
It's
thing.
this Monday, 6 at 8 or 9.
Okay. All right. Hopefully parent-teacher conferences are not before that.
No, they're the week after that.
Give me a week to grade them.
Can I go to my own?
Can you come with your parents?
Can I go by myself?
I don't know. Yeah, Michael did that.
Can you really come by yourself?
It's kind of weird, but it's okay. I can do weird. All right. The English, this is where we're starting. Hey, don't forget, guys, your review sheet is on Edmodo. The essay question is on the review sheet on Edmodo. Okay? And the first paragraph is going to focus on this idea of the English tradition's impact on our government. The English tradition's impact on our government. Now, included in the lectures over the next 2 weeks, guys, I will be showing some video. Okay, so, but the video is important for your essay. Okay, some of it is, well, they're all pretty good, I think, really good. So anyhow, one of the things we kind of tend to get from the British, because remember, the people that emigrated to the New World were English. Okay, and so they took with them the traditions. So some of those things are just like terms and names that were used, and the order of government. Okay, so the layers of government. Oh boy. Terms like city, county. Okay. Terms we get from the English. Nation, nation, state, state, nation. Layers of government. In addition, with some of these, now we didn't use all of these, but some of these terms that we get from the British for officers of government, like sheriff, something we get from the British. Coroner. You guys know what a coroner is? You've watched crime shows. The ones that come and pick up the dead bodies. The coroner. Okay. Get that from the British. Justice of the peace. We get from the British. Okay. Alyssa, are you going to be a coroner? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I want to be medical examiner.
Sweet. You have a strong stomach?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that just kind of, some of the terms, names, layers that we get from the British, pretty simple stuff, okay? I keep saying British, I apologize. At this point in time when we're talking about the New World and the colonies, it's the English up until about the 1730s, I believe, and then it becomes the British. Might be a little bit later than that. Okay. All right. So we're going to start. If you guys have your book, I'm not going to sign this over the weekend, but I'm going to sign it Monday. Page 20. If you want to work on it over the weekend, no, I'm going to assign it Monday. We're going to discuss it on Tuesday. I don't like having that over the weekend because people will forget. So I want to do it Monday. Page 20, there's a little chart. There are 3 documents here. Okay, the Magna Carta, the Petition of Right, and the English Bill of Rights. This is going to be your first paragraph on your essay. These 3 documents. Okay? Now, these are excerpts of the documents, not the full text. Okay? So you're going to read those and try and find within those documents the rights that are found in those documents. Okay? Now I'll tell you this ahead of time. Not every box is going to be marked. Some rights you won't find in any of them.
Why do you put a lot of paper?
Because they're rights that we have. Okay? So it's a little bit of comparison to what we have with the Bill of Rights. Yeah, just still checking the box. And so when I grade these, I'm going to look at your check marks and see how they look. Okay? And then we're going to discuss it. Yes?
Can I do it in the book if you want?
You can do it in the book. I'm going to call your name, have you bring it up. I'm going to look at it and see if it looks like,
You know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Do Tuesday?
Maybe I'll just mark
Tuesday.
off some check marks.
Tuesday. I'll remind you on Monday. So if you got stuff going on this weekend, don't even think about it. Okay? If you got a busy night Monday,
Thinking about it.
you might want to do it over the weekend. Okay?
Is that all for today?
What are you talking about? What time do we get out?
Oh, 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's go. We're going to start. All right. So I'm going to do a little bit just overview on these quickly on these three documents. Okay. The Magna Carta. So guys, these are actually English constitutions. Okay, 3 different English constitutions. And what we're doing here is we're going on a journey that's going to last from 1215 to 1776. This is your essay. This journey from absolute monarchy, absolute rule by a king with a divine right, so to speak, to a day where the people will form a new social contract, giving them the right to govern themselves. A democracy. And guys, this journey lasts over 500 years. Okay? The Magna Carta, which English translation means what? The Great Charter. Okay? Or the Great Paper. Okay? The Magna Carta, what year? 1215. All right? King John. Now, go back in world history. Take your minds back there when you learned about this in world history. In 1215, King John has advisors. Who are the most powerful people outside of the king in English society?
Nobles.
The nobles and the bishops. The religious. Okay? And they're going to advise the king that, you know what? We need to have a say in some of this too. Not just you arbitrarily ruling and doing whatever you want on every whim. Acting irrationally without consulting us. You need to consult us. In fact, King, you need to follow some of the laws yourself. And King John's like, what? I'm not doing that. And they said, yeah, you are. He didn't want to sign it. He didn't want to give up absolute power. But for the first time, with this great paper, they are going to place restrictions on the king. It's a baby step. The king's still going to be an absolute ruler, pretty much. But for the first time, they're actually writing this down. And when you read the Magna Carta, you can see some of the limits that they start to put on the king. And some of the rights that they're asking for. Okay? This is the idea which is central to our idea of limited government. Placing limits on government. Now, I know this might sound foreign in 2018, the United States of America. But there are limits on government. May not seem like it. Okay. The second document that we will speak of is the English Petition of Right. Not rights, R-I-G-H-T, right. 1628. Now this also insists that the king must follow the law. Now this king is going to be King Charles. Charles.
Which one?
First. I believe it's first. Yes. King Charles I, 1628. Okay. This is going to expand on some of the rights. Okay. And by 1628, this group of nobles has grown into the House of Lords. Okay? The House of Lords, which is Parliament. Okay? It is going to give more power to this body. Now remember, the upper house, the Parliament, is still your wealthy, aristocratic nobility of people. Okay? The House of Commons is just to pacify people. They don't really have any power at the beginning. Okay? This is establishing something very near and dear to our heart, that Parliament is establishing a representative government. So if, did I misspell it? Yeah, I need it. Tativ. Thank you, Grace, for the smile, letting me know I misspelled that. Okay, representative government. And if you're in the broadest context of all of this, what do the English founding documents give us? Limited and representative government. Okay? Which are the basics, the stalwart basics of what we have to have. Okay? In 1688, we get the English Bill of Rights. The English Bill of Rights. Now, on Tuesday, we'll talk about the whole soap opera affair of what's going on at this point in time in England, and how King Charles will lose his head. We'll have the Long Parliament, and we'll get to the glorious revolution. The glorious revolution. Glorious for who? People like me.
The middle class.
No. Protestants. Okay? Not so glorious for people like you. Catholics. Okay? We'll get into all that on Tuesday. Okay? But this is going to create a free election of Parliament. And eventually what you're going to see happen is that upper house, the House of Lords, is going to lose power. And the House of Commons is going to take over. And that's what we have today in England, Great Britain, United Kingdom. Okay. All right. So, Monday, we're going to start with the first colony in the New World in where? Where in Virginia? Jamestown. What year? 1607. Have a good weekend.